Welcome to EventNewsDXB. Before we begin, I've got a quick favour to ask. There's one simple way that you can support our show, and that's by hitting that follow or subscribe button on the app you're listening to the show on right now. It really does make a huge difference in helping us get the show out there to as many people as possible. So please give us a hand and click that button right now. Thanks a bunch.
EventNewsDXB.
You're listening to the EventNewsDXB podcast. Your behind-the-scenes look into the world of events in Dubai, the UAE, and the MENA region. I'm Ian Carless, and each week I'll be bringing you the latest news, industry trends, and insider stories shaping one of the world's most dynamic event markets. From professional insights to Dubai's most inspiring success stories, we've got everything you need to stay ahead in the ever-evolving event industry. So whether you're an event planner, a brand manager, or just someone passionate about the power of events, you're in the right place. This week, we're talking to Mark Breakspear. After graduating from the University of Manchester in 2005, Mark moved to Dubai to work with Majid Al Futtaim Leisure during the opening of Ski Dubai. Fast forward 18 months and a huge career change saw him join the events industry with DLC Events. Originally a crew member and lighting technician, Mark soon progressed to project management and quickly began to specialise in conferencing technology, where he's now the sales and operations manager. And it's in this role that he's helped guide DLC Events to become the leading supplier of simultaneous interpretation and discussion systems in the Middle East. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Now, I'm going to kick off and I'm going to put you on the spot. So you told me earlier, just as we were grabbing coffee, you used to be a ski instructor.
Snowboard
instructor.
In fact, I actually learned how to teach skiing purely because they paid me more money. I've been snowboarding since I was a young age and got the opportunity to be part of the opening of this great indoor ski centre in the middle of the desert. And it timed up quite well with me graduating from university. So thought, why the hell not? Let's go and spend a couple of years in a fun country before settling down and getting a proper job. And like many people, didn't leave.
Never left.
Never left.
So at what point then, I mean, I won't dwell too much on the whole Ski Dubai experience, but at what point then did you decide that, okay, snowboard instructor maybe isn't cutting the mustard and I need to do something else?
You know, it was a great job. I really, really loved it, but it's not a career.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to move up to apart from the moving into the office. And the great thing about teaching lessons is that every single lesson you do has, you do your introductions, you find out what people do for a living, and you wait until you find an industry that you're interested in, do a good lesson, take them for a beer afterwards. And that's actually what I did with one of our industry power horses, I guess you'd call him, Steph Sebula.
Okay.
So I taught him snowboarding many, many moons ago. At the time, he worked for DLC. I always been interested in events, wanted to get into event management, and he suggested, hey, why don't you come and learn the technical side of events? So when you do event management in the future, you'll have a bit better of a understanding of how everything works, a bit more well-rounded. And then I really enjoyed the technical side. I enjoyed being up on the truss, plugging lights in. I didn't want to be one of the guys sat at the back of the room, stressed on their BlackBerry, dealing with every little problem. I just like making things look cool. Yeah, that progressed on.
So how long did it take you to sort of ingratiate yourself into the industry? Was there a period at the beginning where you thought, or did you straight away kind of know, I enjoy this?
I knew right from the start that I enjoyed it. I think my path has changed from initially being interested in lighting to then being the guy that we had a small translation system back in the day. We used to do all these training sessions with McDonald's and things where they brought over the Turkish guys, and no one else wanted to do that because it was boring compared to the AV jobs. So as the new kid, I got bumped onto those, did quite well at it, got a few bigger contracts. Then I think we got the Dubai Film Festival one year where we ended up investing in all the digital equipment. And from there, it just snowballed as interpretation became more and more common. We got microphones and we've got all the other paraphernalia that goes with it. And it turned into being what is now our core business. So from being a little side hustle almost back in 2007, fast forward to 2025, and it's our primary focus is conference technology.
Now, obviously, Dubai is well known for hosting world-class events. What kind of trends have you sort of seeing at the moment or over the last 4 or 5 years, and where do you think it's going now?
Dubai is a very popular venue. It's got headquarters of a lot of different organizations. Certainly during the pandemic, obviously everything dropped off again, and I'm really, really happy that everything's gone back and some with these live events. There's a lot of people that were pessimistic about how events would be after the pandemic, and I'm very pleased to hear that I was right and things are bigger and better. I think because of the location of Dubai, it's very central. So it's easy for people to get to when the audiences or the attendees are spread all over the world, because it's a very central area.
Yeah, you mentioned the pandemic. I guess, we probably couldn't have gone through a podcast without referring to that, especially in relation,
Did I get there too early?
Especially in relation to events, right?
Yeah.
How did you manage that whole process?
Oh, God, it was hard. I was actually trying to get a mortgage at the time, and they wouldn't give me a mortgage because I told them I was in the events industry. It's like, your job's not safe. You're going to be let go any day. We're DLC, a very close-knit company. Lorraine, who owns the business, she's the kindest woman you ever know. We all put in together. We all dug our heels in, found out where we could progress in terms of doing work, because obviously no on-site events, but a few of our forward-thinking clients moved their stuff to virtual events. We very quickly adopted remote interpretation. So where we had the platform, we used one called Interprify, and we shouted about it because it was the only work we were doing. There's no lighting jobs, there's no on-site events. So we didn't really have the kind of positions where we could work from home. So we all still came into the office, obviously completely socially distanced and taking all precautions, promise. And we battled on. We tried to find new avenues. Some worked, some didn't. We tried like home cinemas at one point. That never really took off. But, it was that kind of forward-thinking idea of where can we get money in? Where can we get money in to pay the wages? Where can we get money in to pay the bills? And we all hunkered down a little bit, carried on pushing forward, carried on with marketing, carried on with talking to people. Very lucky to be under the leadership of Lorraine, and no one was actually let go at all. And we came out the other side even stronger and a lot happier, I think.
It's been interesting. I mean, what have you seen since the pandemic? I mean, do you think we're back to where we were pre-pandemic levels in terms of the event industry?
I definitely think so. I think people are now, I think ever since the end of the Expo is when I really noticed the change. We were quoting a lot of jobs and heavy discounts because we just wanted the work. And it seemed like every end client left things so late in the day when the industry really kicked off at, I guess it was 2021, like towards the end of the year. Whereas at the start of that year, we'd been offering heavy discounts just to get some confirmations in. Now when it all started picking up, everyone's back to higher prices. And I think the industry really benefited from that cash injection, which was the Expo. I don't think the Expo could have come at a better time for Dubai. Lots of people came, lots of people wanted to show off and have these large events. We did the World Government Summit, which was the last event of the Expo. And that was the biggest one they'd had up to that point. And it was really a showcase on, we can come back and we can come back big. And ever since then, people seem a little bit more willing to appreciate the value of expertise rather than just that bottom line. They're considering the value rather than the cost, which I'm sure will go up and down as the years go by. But since the pandemic, I really feel that people are appreciating the expertise that people deliver rather than just the equipment list and that final budget number.
I think it's encouraging to hear you say that, because I think, so often in my experience in this market as well, we are very bottom line driven. I mean, there are a few clients that, really put the emphasis on quality, but at the end of the day, they look at that final figure, and if it's got too many zeros on it or if it's too high a number, they balk. So I think it's really good to see that people are, perhaps getting less conscious about the actual budget. What other challenges do you think we face here in the UAE with events?
Certainly competition. There's a lot of people around that do the same thing. There's a huge number of AV companies. There's a huge number of conference companies. There's a huge number of translation agencies. A lot of them, especially on the small scale stuff, everyone's doing the same thing, and it's very hard to compete. We've never been the cheapest company. never tried to be, but it really pushes us to deliver above the quotes. So the customer service, the experience you get dealing with us. So, when you're going to ask us for a quote, you're going to get not only a quote fast, but if you've asked something, I don't know, maybe wrong or that could be done better, we guide you on that. We use our expertise to say, look, the best solution for your event, how we can add the most value to your event is by doing this, rather than just taking whatever they're asking for. We're the experts in the field that we do, as any company should be. And it's our role to guide the clients into getting the most success and for the least money. So we want to make it as economic for them as possible, while still getting value for what we bring to the events.
How do you stay ahead of the competition then? I mean, clearly, equipment is probably, one aspect of it, but only one aspect of a much larger picture.
Exactly. I think marketing is a big thing. This region is very much about connections, and that's why I had a 2-year break from after the Expo from DLC. I went and worked for a remote company, and came back. When I came back in May this year, it was in a different role that I wanted to carve out that I felt DLC needed, which was, as the title suggests, the sales and operations side of things. Having someone that goes out and maintains those relationships with the clients, shows interest in what other people are doing, find out not just what equipment we have got available for your event, but how can we help you do even better? So it's about going that extra mile and the experience of dealing with us rather than just the equipment list.
Now, you mentioned Expo. I mean, like you said, that was a massive boost to the industry when it was probably most needed. Now I think, attention has turned towards Saudi, doesn't it? How important do you see Saudi now in terms of the events here in this region?
Yeah, Saudi is growing. We've got some equipment over there. We haven't gone down the route of getting an established business over there. I think we've got work cut out at the moment with our team, the size it is in the region. But it's definitely growing. I would love it if the freight costs to get equipment there were a little bit cheaper and a little bit more reliable as well. But I love the region. I've been to Jeddah, I've been to Riyadh a couple of times, and it's really up and coming. So we're watching from afar. We're being involved when we can. I still think it's a lot far behind on Dubai in terms of procedures and ways of doing business, but it's certainly an exciting time.
What about longevity? I mean, I know you've been in the region a long time, so have I. We've all seen things come and go. Is the interest in Saudi another one of those things? Is it going to come and go?
I don't think so. I think it's going to carry on increasing, and hopefully as more and more events going, they're doing so well with the music festivals and the large conferences and things over there. I can't see it ever being as commercialized as Dubai is. I say that in a commercialized for Dubai in a good way, because it caters for a really, really wide nationality, really wide, diverse range of people. But I think people feel so comfortable in Dubai in terms of holding their event here and the experience they have in the country. And that's down to the way the government has developed the country. And I don't think Saudi are quite there yet, but I'm sure they'll be going closer in that direction.
Is it somewhere you see DLC heading?
At the moment, no. I would never say never. But I think, I think what we're doing at the moment is right for us at this time. Who knows what the future might hold.
Moving on a little bit, let's talk about technology, because obviously your business is quite technology focused. Obviously, the advance of technology recently has made your business, I would imagine, somewhat easier. What do you do now in terms of you're in translation. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously the industry standard technology for translation or interpretation is the infrared receivers. That hasn't changed in 30 years, and it's not going to change because it's so secure and it works so well. That's not going to change. But what has changed is the more on the discussion side of things, or the microphones. They have screens now, some wired, some wireless. All these added functionalities that are really driven by Europe in terms of what the councils and the European Union, what they want as features. That's what the manufacturers listen to in terms of development. That's where we step above a lot of the other companies because we've not only got the microphones and the receivers, but we've also got the chip card login systems for delegate identification. We've got digital name signs. We've got automated camera positioning where you preset all the positions of every microphone, and as soon as you touch the microphone, the camera recalls that preset. It's fascinating, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And it is going more into the virtual world as well. A lot more, even though we're very blessed with the number of or different languages that are available locally. You do get some people that need an obscure language for a short event. And then we use this, the remote technology that we have done before. And people are very used to it in Europe, and it's all very, very, very common. Over here, it's still a little bit slow to get going because people think, what happens if the internet fails? What happens if the interpreter's not online or something like that? But we've never had an event that's actually failed ever since the end of the pandemic. We all know the virtual works because we had to do it for a while. But there is still that situation where if the equipment's available locally, if the interpreter's available locally, there's no need for it. Just get them on site. It just works doing it the old way.
How much of an advantage is where we are geographically then in being able to source that talent?
Very, very well. Certain languages are good, but no matter where they are, even if they're close by, the cost of flying in interpreters for certain events is still never popular with clients' budgets, to be honest.
How much of that is a part of your business, though? Do you actually have to fly in people, or are they available in the market?
Occasionally, we really try and avoid it because it's not only the cost, but it's also the hassle of booking the flights and hotels and everything like that. So we try and avoid it, and I always recommend people to go remote to save their budget. And then you get the big conferences where like the COP28 where they'll fly all the interpreters in, but generally for those we just provide the equipment, and the client will have the headache of the interpreters, and that's leave that up to them.
Yeah. What are the biggest challenges that you face then when you're asked to come in and do provide your services for an event?
I'd say first of all it's the understanding of the clients of the spec they need. So getting all the information is quite hard. With AV events, you'll have more production time because there'll be lighting designs and there'll be rigging plans and all those things. But you tend to be left a little bit more to creating the look, unless it's a concert where they've got bringing their own team. The client will say, okay, this is the kind of atmosphere we want. You'll provide a lighting rig or an AV setup to complement that, and you're kind of left as long as it looks like you've promised it's good. With conference systems, you've got to know exactly what functionality the client needs, and sometimes when you're working through an event agency, they don't know. So the process can be quite slow and quite backwards and forwards in getting that.
Yeah.
But then on the plus side, sometimes when it's a simple event, it's extremely low maintenance. You say how many languages you want, how many receivers you want, where to be and when to be there, and you're good to go. And it's very low maintenance in terms of a planning perspective. So
how about the timeline? Because I know with Warehouse 4, for example, our event venue, we're often challenged, to say the least, with clients coming in and saying, we got an event for 200 people in 8 days' time.
8 days is a blessing in most of the time. And that again is where this region differs to other parts of the world, I think, where you get laughed at by a company in a different country. But over here, it's absolutely normal. You bend over backwards to help clients because you never know. It might be a small system. Someone might want to write 8 lights and pick them up tonight. But their next event could be a huge event. And if that's where you've got to differentiate yourself from other companies by putting in that extra mile. Sometimes it comes back to bite you. Sometimes they cancel last minute when the kit's already prepped in the warehouse. But that's the gamble you take, and most of the time it pays off.
Okay, I want to ask you about staffing. I think that's probably one of the perennial problems of this part of the world, and maybe it is for other parts of the world as well. But in particular, I've found in my time here in Dubai, how do you get over the perennial problem of finding good talent, and then B, getting around the cyclical nature of events and industry here in Dubai, because we suffer, don't we, from that whole thing about having quiet periods and then being absolutely manic. Sometimes it's feast or famine. So I guess, first of all, talk to me about how you manage the crewing side of things.
Well, I think the establishment of so many companies that do event production recruitment that have come up in the last few years is a testament to how much this service is needed. DLC have a very well-retained crew, so we've been quite lucky. A lot of our guys have been there over a decade, myself over 16, 17 years. And a lot of our crew have come on from initially being freelancers, and then having worked with them more, we've ended up growing, and we've then brought them on full time. So we've had a long experience of working with them in a kind of like a risk-free environment, if you like. With events, it's all about work ethic. You really have to have the mindset and the passion to do what you want to do. Skills you can teach. You can teach anyone the operations of a warehouse, but if you have people that don't want to be there or only there for fun and can't be relied upon, you can't do that. And that's where we found out through our freelance database, and a lot of the guys have been started off with freelancers with us. Recruitment is the most expensive part of business. It is, and you've got to get it right because you end up paying twice otherwise.
And how do you cope with the sort of cyclical nature of the business then? I don't know whether it's still quite the same as it was, say, 20 years ago. I mean, the summer used to be dead.
Yeah. So
now I think it's perhaps a little bit more evened out, but still you have periods of lows, and then you have, as we all know in the events, October, November, December, January, February,
crazy, isn't it?
Where you don't have time to take a leak.
So when I first started, I used to go back to the UK for a couple of months and do some temp work. But over time, we've become busy. Even during summer, there's all the tenders and the pitches to do for the events that are coming up. The guys in the warehouse do elements like stock checks and full equipment preps. So we've got plenty of stuff as an AV company and as a conference company. We've got so much equipment. There's so much stuff to fill the time with. So we use those quiet periods not only to do marketing and meeting with people, because generally when we're quiet, other people are quiet.
Yeah.
So it's a great time for a coffee.
Yeah.
First couple of weeks of January tend to be really quiet, which is great because I get to come meet people like you and
Exactly.
have cool chats. Even though the revenue coming in tends to be quite cyclical in terms of seasons, if you like.
Yeah.
The work certainly is, and we plug the gaps with work, and there's always stuff to do. And, our guys, they enjoy going back home for a few months, if they want to take their leave plus a month's unpaid leave. No issue at all. Most of them have enough loo days and working public holidays to be able to get paid leave for most of it anyway. So,
Do you think that seasonal element of the business has got shorter? Do you think the low period now is?
I think the period of doing business has got a lot shorter. People are now working throughout the summer, preparing on the big projects that are coming up in September, October. I think Ramadan has a very interesting effect as it's moving back over the years.
Yeah.
The country's getting much more open. There used to be nothing going on. Now there's some events in the evening. And now as the country becomes more open during Ramadan, things are happening during the day. And there's no curtains up between food areas or anything. So I think that the regions being more accepting of people doing business and doing events during that period, so that we don't miss out on which is this year going to be peak season in February.
So if you look back now to when you were a snowboard instructor and to where you are now, was it a good move?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know my passion was in events until I started doing it. I knew I enjoyed it. I did a dissertation at university on the effects of sponsorship at sporting events. So I did management and leisure at university. So that was all focused on the leisure and sporting industry, which I really enjoyed. But I've never been the kind of person where I know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but I know that at the moment I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And taking each day as it comes. I've been very fortunate being with DLC for so long, had a lot of influence in the company and had a lot of support, a lot of mentorship.
Yeah.
And just enjoying life at the moment.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself next?
I committed to staying with DLC long term. I've no interest in working anywhere else. There's possibilities with us and the team that we have and the rate we're growing in terms, not necessarily in size, like we're growing in what we're doing, the size of events we're doing, but we're managing it with the same core team, relying on freelancers as and when we need to. And working for a company like DLC is very organic in where our growth is. We go where the market is. We've had great success. Lorraine's got a great eye for business, and she can see where there's an opportunity and where it's maybe not worth putting any effort in. And we've carved out a position for us where we're not really competition to a lot of the other companies, and we have great relationships with majority of people in this industry, and the industry is very close, all the same. But we don't tend to compete with jobs with Be Wonder or PRG or Encore.
Yeah.
But we support them in elements that they don't want to have the headache from. They need a few more lights, or they need translation. We collaborate with people rather than compete against them.
Yeah.
And so far it's working well.
I'm going to ask you something a little bit personal, because we've been asking everybody this. I don't know about yourself, but I'm a bit of a music fan. I've got a large vinyl collection, again, like many of us, I think, who've experienced vinyl the first time around, bought CDs, ditched it all, and then now we're all buying it back again. What are you listening to at the moment? What's on your playlist at the moment?
You know, I'm not... I enjoy dance music. I enjoy different things. I enjoy rock music when I'm running. I enjoy like dance music when I'm in my car. If I'm not listening to a
EDM, house.
I used to be a bit of a drum and bass head, actually. We used to love that back in my day. So I still got a soft spot for that.
We did a gig with Goldie years back. Really? Not here, no, when I was in the Philippines. Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. And there was a great place where, remember Chi?
Yes.
The nightclub Chi. We used to go to these great drum and bass nights there. I forget what they were called. But it was very, very rare to have a drum and bass night over here. So even though it's not the kind of thing that I'd really listen to if I was with anyone else over here, because no one that I hang around with, like family, etc., would appreciate it. I'd love to listen to music more. Definitely at the moment more focused in reading and parenting, I guess, takes up most of my time.
So what, on a personal level, what have you got to look forward to? And also on a professional level, is there anything that you've got going on with DLC that you can share with us that you're looking forward to?
Just looking forward to a really busy year. We've got a lot of things coming up. We do a big event in Singapore every June, which is a nice regular client, which I look forward to every year. There we did Prague last year as well. So we're getting around the world. It's not just the Middle East. We go all over.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to some trade shows. I love a good trade show. I love seeing all the other guys, seeing their stands and networking with people. Personal level, my kids are getting older every day. I've got a 10-year-old one that's about to turn 7 on Saturday, actually, and then another one's about to turn 4. So they certainly keep me on my toes. Keeping my wife happy, which, as you know, in the events industry is extremely difficult. But happy wife, happy life.
You took the words right out of my mouth there. Yeah. Mark, thank you very much for joining us.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
EventNewsDXB was presented by myself, Ian Carless. The studio engineer and editor was Roy DeMonte. The executive producer was myself and Joe Morrison. And this podcast is a co-production between Warehouse 4 and W4 Podcast Studio Dubai. And if you haven't done so already, please do click that follow or subscribe button. See you next time.
EventNewsDXB.